Hello, my name is Francis Fox. I'm a trained remote viewer. I was part of and still attached to, because they don't ever let you go, to a secret government program for mind expansion, human potential. The discoveries within the program were supposed to be shared so that it could be put into the educational system of the United States. They discovered how to raise someone's IQ, anyone's IQ. Let me give you a little clue. If you're afraid enough, often enough, under certain conditions, your IQ goes up. You figure out how to stay alive. But we don't want to do that to you. We did it, and we're here to share with you what it is that we learned under those circumstances. I've been talking an awful lot about sex because it seems to be causal. The issues with sex seems to be causal in a lot of political issues, the sex trafficking, uh, collapse of populations, um, blackmailing. Who knows what percentage of politicians via sex? So I promised yesterday that I would start to teach you how to do stuff in the other dimension. So that's what we're going to do today. So first, we're going to do a little bit of the news and the gossip. The gossip, I still don't have a single piece of forwarded mail since the 22nd of August. You can imagine how powerful and how protected the people that are holding my mail have got to feel, that it's not an issue for them. You can end up in jail by stealing one piece of mail. We're talking third month, 3 months. Anyway, there seems to be an awful lot of stuff going on in the court system having to do with me, but nobody asked me. I'm not participating. Everybody has all sorts of opinions, including a lot of mistaken notions and opinions about me. When somebody holds a gun to your head, you tend to follow instructions. So, what else is gossip? For the first time in history, the United States held a meeting in Congress about aliens and ETs and spaceships, stuff that has been known since the beginning of the planet. For some dumb reason, this government determined to contain that information and to dumb down the public, some of which was via fluoride, so that they wouldn't ask too many questions so that it would be easy to pull the wool over their eyes. And they did that. But I guess with Trump coming in, what a coincidence that yesterday there were full hearings with a lot of interesting things. So it's kind of like disclosure. I didn't pay attention. I had too many other things happening, going on to pay attention to that. But it's very good that that information come out, because ultimately on planet Earth, those people that are human beings, regular human beings, we are all good people, and we are caught up in a game between light and dark, and we are positioned according to what we choose, having to do with how much we want to contribute to the evolution of humanity. We choose either light or dark, or we hop back and forth. But removing all of that, everybody is honestly really good people. Even the people that were god awful to me, it's a process, it's a game, it's a the ones that are not good people and don't have our best interest in mind are from off planet. So getting to know who they are, etc., is very important. I am going to go ahead and start to teach you little techniques and things for you to start exercising your power in the other dimensions. Let me say that it has been ridiculous up till now. 30 years ago, a couple of people said to me, you can never use the word heal. Never. You can never say you healed anybody. You can never say you cured anybody. Even if the doctors say they were cured, you cannot say it. You will end up in jail. So I'm going to teach you about this. And instead of using the word healing, I use the word purification, which is very irritating. But on the other hand, it is also very accurate, because in order for you to heal, there's something there that's blocking you, because if not, you would automatically be fine. So we do have to purify that. But it's irritating to have simple language prohibited to people who actually do healings, but allowed to people that don't do healings, which is the medical profession and the pharmaceuticals. The third leading cause of death in this country is mistakes in hospitals. You're not going to find that in the healing community. The only thing that I've ever heard in the healing community has to do with people that make big money and decide to go into teaching about chakras when they don't know about them, and they end up messing people up, and it doesn't get on the news enough because they're big people and they earn big money and they really don't know anything about chakras. But the only other thing would be where there could be chiropractic, which I would consider alternative. And there have been a couple of cases in which people have apparently been harmed. But if you do the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of visits, it's really, and compare it to what the medical doctors do to us, it's really disgraceful. But let's get on to the fun part. And I am working on the protocol for sex, okay? So you can't use the word healing. It has to be purification. Okay. I suggest that you start on your own, not today, whenever, and you start looking up what are chakras, chakras. And you're going to find a chart, and I have one, but I can't give you the link right now because I did not look it up. And find out which organs are connected with which chakra, so that when you get sick, you know what, hopefully, you'll know what organ is sick or what system is sick, even though probably your medical doctor won't tell you. You kind of know. And then you go and look it up and find out what chakra corresponds. And then you know that that's where you have to do the healing. Because if you have an issue with your lungs, you're really not going to want to go to the solar plexus chakra, which has to do with all the digestive organs and the pancreas. You're going to want to go to the heart chakra. So there is a system, there are charts, they make sense. What I bring to the table, and thank God a lot of people have joined me at that table, which we call the Mantrista movement, is that whatever it is that I am teaching, I beg and tell my followers, please go ahead and tell me how this goes. If it's bad, tell me. It's never bad because nothing that we do harms, but if it doesn't work, and we have a lot of testimonials. So we will be teaming up with somebody who has the ability to set up systems in which they can, in a modern way, collect all of this data from people that have no reason to lie. And in terms of diabetes, they just take pictures of those little machines. In terms of blood pressure, they take pictures of the little machines before and after mantras. But let's go ahead and let's start with your root chakra, which is in between your legs. It's an energy center in between your legs. Its color is red, ideally. And it should spin in the opposite direction of the hands of a clock. But you don't have to worry about the spinning right now, because chances are it's not spinning well. The root chakra is all about being landed, being rooted, being connected to earth, which according to the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, you have to be rooted and landed with enough of the earth element, and then you don't have to worry about evil spirits invading. Now, why would that be? Because evil spirits are from off planet. They don't do well with the earth element. So if I'm kind of happy with myself that that's the first thing that I'm teaching, which is how to stay protected from evil. What does that mean? That means that you don't go to Disney and to big cities for vacations if you're stressed out or you're not really centered or you really need to heal. You go to mountains, you go to parks, and you're going to be getting your earth energy, and you're going to be fertilizing. the whole thing with Spanish and English, when the words are very similar, you're going to be strengthening your root chakra. You can also use our sensory therapy videos, which have musical notes plus images that transfer to you, and particularly to your root chakra, that will help to add the element of earth, which is the element of the root chakra. It's the element of earth. It's supposed to be red, and that is the reason why in the ancient studies of Feng Shui, I think I pronounced it correctly, 3,000 years old, where they studied the relationship between your destiny and your environment. In that study, they recommend that your door be red. Now, why would they do that? Well, nobody really knows, but yes, I know because I discovered the structure of the mind, which are strings, and the strings that are associated with the root chakra, not the strings, but the part of you in terms of your mind that's associated with the root chakra is red. And when you take the Bagua map, which is 3,000 years old, and I will put it up on screen now, you align that map, okay, with your front door. You're looking at the map on screen. The entrance of your home is in the center of the map. And that entrance is where chi enters your entire system. Chi is life force. It's a unit that's also called the God particle. And it is a combination of the four elements of fire, earth, water, and air in a perfect balance. And they create a unit called chi. Chi enters your home and you via the entrance to your home, which is usually the front door. Sometimes it's through the garage, at which time you have to put the map and align it with the door in the garage. So that entrance is an entrance to your root chakra, whose color is supposed to be red, and that's the reason why in the Bagua and in Feng Shui, they recommend a red door, because the red is the vibration of that center. Now, that center also has to do with your career, the way you earn money, the inside and the outside of your front door, which aligns with in between your legs. And that's another discovery I made, the relationship between that 3,000-year-old Bagua map that's used in Feng Shui for designing and understanding your spaces. The entrance, whether it's your front door or it's the door in the garage or it's the back door, that's the entrance to your home. It corresponds to and channels the energy of career inside and out. So in terms of your front door outside, you would want to have sufficient light. You would want to have an operational doorbell if your home would require something of that nature. The plants should not be dried up and desiccated and with leaves falling all over the place. It should be attractive, and it should kind of represent, in terms of what you put there, things that would support the root chakra, which again is associated with the entrance of your home in terms of the Feng Shui map, Bagua map. Maybe I'm giving you like a little too much. But in terms of you, what is it that's going to be good for you to know about the entrance to your home, having to do with that front door, having to do with healing? And it's also not just the outside, it's inside the front door. So the images and everything should be things that have to do or are a little bit supportive of career. So you wouldn't necessarily want to put photographs of your kids or vacations. It should be something that would have to do with prosperity, something of substance, images that convey concepts that would be supportive. Now, that doesn't mean that everything has to be business outside and inside your front door. You could simply have it be very beautiful, or like I always have a lot of plants near my front door, and the plants, I make sure that they don't have dried leaves, and that they have enough water, and that the pot is attractive, and that it looks a little bit substantial, that it doesn't look teeny weeny, like, like a strong wind would knock it over, because that would mean that a strong wind will knock over things in your career. Um, I also used to, when I had enough space, which I don't now, would have three identical plants. The number three has to do with joy. And I want to be happy with my career, which I am, by the way, because I'm aligned with my mission, which is this, what I'm doing. And I can do whatever I want because nobody pays me a salary. Nice setup. And actually, the only way I could have made it to here, because nobody would have paid me anything in terms of an institution other than behind the scenes, because what I say is usual forward information, which means that half the people don't believe it. So if you want to work on your root, which would be also your front door, and it's in between your legs. So let's say you have hemorrhoids. You got a problem then. You got a problem, because that means that your root chakra is not healthy. Because the anus corresponds in terms of organs to your root, to your front door, to in between your legs. Also, if you have problems with your legs, they are an extension of that root chakra, which corresponds to career, etc. That's a problem. I'm noticing that in the United States, for too many years, there's just too many people that can't walk on their own, that need wheelchairs and attendants. I'm not talking just about age, just like, it doesn't seem to me like I see that in other countries. I could be wrong, but so many issues with the legs and ability to walk on their own. And that would mean that in terms of rooting, which has everything to do with prosperity, would be an issue. Anything that's grown underground, such as turnips and potatoes, is good for the root chakra. Rooting, roots. And again, the color red. If you can't, I've never had a red door. But I have had a lot of red flowering plants that are red near my front door. I have one now on each side. I've really never, I've never looked to have a red door, but it is very supportive of healing that energy center. So reviewing, you have energy centers called chakras that have been known about for centuries. There's so much on it on the internet. And you have 7 major ones associated with your physical body. That association continues to your home, the structure of your home. And that's a discovery of mine, where I discovered that our mind strings, that the reason Feng Shui is valid and the Bagua map is valid is because our strings of our mind extend into our spaces. Give me a second. I'm looking for the... Great. Why would it not come up? Okay. The gold body that you're seeing in the graphic with the green strings, it's the green strings, and there's 72,000 of them. They extend into your environment. They extend 18 inches and then they slip into other dimensions. But they feed off of and they feed your environment. And this is the basis for Feng Shui. And the one I want to show you, that is definitely entity interference, because it doesn't make any sense that graphic, I'm not able to pull it up. Okay. What is that? Ukraine? No, that's not what I want. That's really interesting. The people that own this restream are from Ukraine, but I don't think they're doing this purposefully. So when I did a series of videos on the energetics of business, and we had it videotaped, I asked the cameraman, I said, "What was your takeaway from this?" He said, "No, it was really good." I said, "Okay, fine. But honestly, I only want to do things if they can change people's lives for the better. And if it doesn't, then you know what? I'm not achieving my goal." So I said, "Okay, but what difference did it make?" He said, "What difference?" He said, "I got home, and normally I would just go and lay in front of the TV set because I'm tired after a day of filming. But I got home and I told my wife, we have work to do." And "What are you talking about?" He said, "We have to get to the front door. We want more money. We have to get our front door taken care of." But he didn't mean the actual door, but the light bulb, yeah, it needed to be changed. There was plants that were a disaster. There was mold. A lot of you have mold in the front door. It's not easy to keep mold away from a lot of people's front doors. You have to do it. I have a suggestion that you get hydrogen peroxide, 12%. You can get it in big gallon bottles. And if you clean wherever there's mold and then you spray that, it'll be weeks or months before the mold returns. The hydrogen peroxide takes care of some issue of mold, I guess, mildew. So so it was interesting because he got home and he immediately made changes. These are most of the things that I recommend are things that you could put into practice immediately, um, because I'm an impatient person. That's why. So, and I want things to be fast. And also, I was taught that I had to be efficient and effective, and any information I got or anything I did had to be efficient and effective. If not, they didn't want it. And they would get angry. We would not want those military guys and the scientists to get angry. Nope, 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 nope. So I learned to be efficient and effective, which means it has to be pretty fast. It has to work. You can't wait 3 months, 3 weeks for something to work. It has to be now. Which brings me to the issue of marijuana. And I was debating before I started this chat. I bought the disinformation for decades that marijuana was not good and what a shame that young people used it. You know, what is that all about? They just want to zone out. And then somebody that I respect a lot said, "Why don't you try it?" I said, "No." Do you know what my kids are going to say if I try it? Try it. And because I respect the person, I said, "Okay." Well, I laughed. I laughed so much because I guess I wasn't knowing to expect. And I immediately went to the food store. And I noticed as I'm walking across the parking lot that my spirit astral legs were not working together with my physical legs. My spirit astral legs were moving faster than my physical. And I went, "Oh, wow." And of course, that was very accurate. I did things too fast, which means I wasn't aligned with my physical body. But my point here is that I do use marijuana and I highly recommend it, being it that it comes from cannabis, and now the US government and the government of Brazil and a zillion other people say that it cures cancer cells. It reduces the fire element. So any disease that has to do with excess fire, it is going to help with, which would be heart, blood pressure, heart problems, cancer, skin issues. So, but what I found was that when I would do a mantra, which is the main tool that I bring to the table, because it is your mind that creates reality, and mantras are devices that liberate the mind. And when you have created or live a negative reality, even if it has to do with somebody stealing from you, beating you up, whatever, you still created that. That's what's happening, but you created it. They didn't create it, you did. So mantras are devices that liberate the mind. So your mind creates, then you got a device that liberates the mind, and it turns out that all your negative realities were still created by your mind. And perhaps the favorite thing for the mind streams is cannabis, marijuana. And now I'm forgetting what in terms of science and the experiments and research that was done in the 90s, they called them The mind strings that I discovered, that I sketched, they called cannabinoid receptors, but they don't sketch them. They just know that they exist, that there's something that receives the cannabis and then does all this miraculous stuff for a very cheap price. So I think that when I talk about mind streams, I'm talking about the cannabinoid receptors, um, which shock for the people that were doing the research, ended up being something that was fabulous for human beings. So, but how is it that I do it, use it, and why am I talking about it now? I'm talking about it now because the truth of the matter is that other than going to sleep, if uh, I don't use it socially. Um, I use it when I want to do a mantra to address a deep rooted issue in my life. When something bad happens and I go, okay, so this is happening again. And then I formulate a mantra, very point specific, very short. And then I smoke marijuana. What happens? Well, it cuts the time that I have to do the mantra to like 1/10. Why? Because whatever issue it is that I'm dealing with, if I'm still dealing with it today, it's because it's deep inside of me. It's not a superficial wound to the mind. It's like a knifing to my mind, yours also. And cannabis pulls away veils that doesn't let you see things. And the more that you smoke, the deeper you go, which is where those formations of mind streams that look like a, the hairball that cats vomit, that formation is very deep inside of you. When you have a big problem, when something is always happening again and again, or something really bad and it happens when you're young and then it happens when you're older, and it's like, oh my God, this is happening. That's a deep injury in your mind. It's called a vasana. And it's the mind streams all curled up because of a shock and a trauma, and then they never release. Marijuana releases that, or takes you there, and together with the mantra that is directly addressing that issue in that karmic mess, will open it up 1/10 the time that it would take if I didn't smoke the marijuana. I haven't been observant about whether if I take the drops, I don't really like the drops because I don't really know where I stand with it, but it makes a huge difference in terms of time. And there are zero side effects. Zero side effects. They say that smoking marijuana has only one side effect, which is paranoia. That is not a side effect of marijuana. Marijuana lifts veils. It pulls the drapes away and you see the other dimensions. And when they say it's paranoia, what is actually happening is that you're seeing beings and stuff that's in the other dimensions, part of you, around you, inside your aura, that you couldn't see unless you had something that was pulling away those veils. But that did not get there because you were smoking. It was revealed to you because you were smoking. So I recommend it. Um, and so does half the world now. But I'm telling you how it is that I use it. And the next time I put out my protocol on mantras, I am going to, now that Trump is in and RFK is going to be in charge of health, I'm going to openly talk about the fact that it is an incredible assist to getting to the root cause of your diseases and of tragedies that happen in your life. Let's say the tragedy of people trying to kill Trump. That has created a tremendous knot in Trump's mind, also his wife, his kid, also in the rest of us. That knot doesn't go away on its own. And faith does not take care of it. Faith will keep you going, but it won't take care of this knot. This is the basis for karma. And karma is when you draw to you something, you don't really draw to it. You create something that you need. So in this case, if there's another assassination attempt, let's talk about Trump, Elon, whatever, Trump, because I don't think it's reached the point of an assassination attempt on Elon. When you have that, let's say it happens again. This is happening according to metaphysics because this person, which in this case would be Trump, has not opened up the cannabinoid receptors, which is a system, which are the mind strings, which are, by the way, talked about several times in the Lord's Prayer in the original Aramaic. So I'm going to stop now because I've talked for 30 minutes and I don't want to tire you, but your root chakra, you should breathe into 24/7, unless you're working on another part of your body that's associated with a particular organ where you're sick. And that will keep you rooted and grounded. And you can do a hand position, which is called the Apana Mudra, 2 center fingers touching your thumb. And then you can put the back of your hands on top of your thighs. This mudra, hand position, wakes up the 3 lower energy centers in your body. And it wakes up a prana breath. Now, I did not know that there was prana, breath. We all know that, kind of. I didn't know that there's a second breath, aprana, and I didn't know that the lower 3 chakras, which have to do with your life on the physical dimension, breathe a prana breath. And half of us are not breathing into those lower chakras. We're like mental, intellectual, frightened, whatever, busy, running, like me running across the parking lot, and my astral legs are this way and my physical legs are that way, not aligned. So waking up the 3 lower energy centers, and if you'll notice that my voice is getting softer, it's because I'm holding my hand in that position. And more of my consciousness is in the bottom part of my body. I'm not so hyper. I'm not speaking so quickly. I'm not agitated. It calms down. It's really good for kids. And you can have your hand in that position almost all day long. And if you're frightened at night, which I go to bed many times frightened, I hold my hand in this position. I don't want to disassociate. I want to stay in my body, regardless of how gruesome whatever it is that's happening at this point in my life. So this is and for kids, it's really great, and they can learn it very quickly. I mean, and then you try to make it a habit, and it can make a very big difference in landing projects and getting people to listen to you. Because if you're like elevated, disassociated, people can't hear you as well energetically. Whereas if you're very rooted and grounded and you speak, they can actually hear you. So it's important for a lot of things. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's do a mantra for healing. Thank you, RFK, that I can use that word instead of having to use purifying. Healing your root chakra, which is an energy center in between your legs. I'm going to choose the mantrista movement, which has to do with the element, which is earth and feet, and let's do the mantra. Let's do the even though I'm afraid, because that's the biggest enemy of you being rooted and grounded and prosperous and safe is fear. So let's do the purification mantra, which is even though I am afraid, I love and accept myself. Do me a favor and self-analyze the way you feel from 1 to 10. 1 is you feel awful, and 10 is you feel great. Where are you at right now? Okay, and then we're going to put the gold dress on screen, which if you're in the podcast, I hope you have one close to you, because this dress is really kind of interesting in terms of keeping you on track. And how shiny is it? How gold? How white? Or is it bronze and blue? At which time you really need to work hard because your frequency is not so great. And now I'm going to put on the music and we're going to do 10 minutes. And the mantras are repeated in your, actually take your breath to in between your legs, which is where the root chakra is. And red light, you can kind of visualize that area all with red light. And 10 minutes, and I think you'll notice a big difference in your well-being, the way you feel. Okay? I'm sorry, I did not do that more gracefully. Um, we did 12 minutes. So now from 1 to 12, hello, Francis, from 1 to 10, how do you feel? What percentage better do you feel? You should feel a lot better. The root chakra is very important. It's the most important line in the Lord's Prayer, refers to the characteristic and energies of the root chakra, which is rooting, being connected to Mother Earth, being connected to Earth, having enough of the earth element. And for that, camping, mountains, um, forests. In Japan, they have something they call foresting, which means you go and you walk in the forest. And by the way, when you are in nature, you should just very silently, and doesn't have to be an extended invitation, but you should ask the elements to come and give you a healing, because you'll get more chi when you ask for it. You'll get more healing energies from the different elements when you ask for it. It's very important. Something I learned very late, and I still don't do it enough, but I highly recommend it. Okay, so I'm not sure what we will do the next time we get together, because I think I don't have a chat tomorrow. But we will continue to teach you the different things. So you have a mantra, you have a mudra, hand position, you have the music, the mantrista music. We have a playlist on our YouTube, Francis Fox Reveals channel. You tried visualization, you tried breathing into the root chakra, and you know a couple of the conditions that you can have if your root chakra is not in good order, which are problems with your legs, hemorrhoids. If you have a hard time sitting still because you kind of bothers you, it could be your coccyx, that's root chakra. So you have a lot more information on that. Okay, so we will see you again. And thank you for joining us. And we would appreciate it if you would recommend, if you like these podcast chats, we would love it if you would recommend. The more people that have this very simple information, I think the better off we're all going to be. And thank you, Trump, for winning. And thanks, everybody, for supporting an administration that I can't say 100%, but in most things makes sense. In other words, if you go home, if you're told a story and you go home and tell your mom, she's not going to say, where did you get that story from? It'll make sense, which too much in this country has just not made sense. And you didn't have to be a metaphysician or rocket scientist to go, that doesn't make any sense. Like the masks, recycling your own breath, having children have impaired breathing in the years that they're developing, that doesn't make any sense. So requiring that things make sense should be like a law. If you can't tell your mother that story when you're a little kid, because you know she's going to say, why the heck are you making up stories? Then please don't make it a national policy or a law. Because just because. See you soon. Bye.